Okay guys, we are back at it with some more Trench Crusade goodness. Trench Crusade has been one of those things that I have been dipping my toe in and out of whenever I get a little bit of spare time. Luckily, I have been sponsored to do a video a month for Green Stuff World. They want to show off their acrylic paint range and some other tools and bits and pieces that they do. And I decided I would make that series all about Trench Crusade. Why not make one video dedicated every month to doing something cool for Trench Crusade and then showing off all the Green Stuff World product in relation to that. So far, I've actually managed to get quite a lot of awesome miniatures built and painted for that, trying out the different kind of styles and techniques and stuff like that. And it is definitely a game system that I want to get into properly and play some games with my friends. I think it's going to be one of those projects that I treat more like a board game. As in, I will have a set 3x3 nice board and I will make 4 warbands, paint them up all nice and different, and I will keep that all together. So if my friends come over and want to play a game of Trench Crusade, I can just provide them with gangs and provide them with a board and we can play a couple of cool games. If they then find that as a jumping off point and want to then create their own warbands, that's totally fine. But there's no pressure on them to do that. So with that whole concept in mind, with myself having tried a couple of miniatures already and really enjoyed it, I think it's time for me to create the first piece of scenery. And this is what I decided to do, which is one of the traditional kind of antenna towers, which is also obviously a crucifix, a giant cross. It's very kind of baroque and awesome looking. They can come much bigger, but I don't have space to store giant pieces of scenery. So I want to make, like I said, a nice compact 3x3 board for that. I'm not sure if you can hear the whining of a 3D printer in the background, but there's the second piece of scenery is actually already printing. So yeah, this is what I'm going to show you how I did today. Quick, easy, fast, effective. It's going to be great. Hopefully you're going to enjoy it. Let's jump in. So this is the kind of trench, the monument cross that I decided to print out. It's from a guy called Seb Dar, who I found on my kind of Bamboo Labs, whatchamacallit thingy that has all their files pre-built into it. Their models anyway. So on the Bamboo Labs models website, Seb Dar has this, and I decided to print it off. It's a really nice, comfortable size to print out. It only took like 2 or 3 hours. It took very little filament. So all in all, I'd say this thing cost like €1 to print, which is really nice. I don't know how many pieces of scenery I'm going to have to print for Trench Crusade, but I presume I'm going to need a trench at some stage. And I'm still not sure whose or what trench I want to print and build and paint. It's kind of a big decision because a lot of companies out there are now producing trenches and they're all different. They don't like you can mix and match them. You're going to kind of choose one aesthetic and then build your board around that. So I'm going to have to try and figure that out. I got the model filed down, cleaned up, glued together, and then sprayed with a matte black. And then I grabbed my Green Stuff World selection of grays that I wanted to stipple up across this piece because FDM printers leave some mold lines behind. There's some print lines behind. I like stippling on them to add that kind of texture and get the color on, make it look a little bit like concrete. If I was to dry brush back and forth, it might highlight up those print lines, which is something that I'm very much trying to avoid. There's all sorts of crazy ways to get rid of print lines, but that would be more time and effort than a small piece of scenery like this is worth in my eyes. So I think this way works better. So after the first coat, we went in with steel gray, and we started stippling in the second coat. Obviously, I'm going lighter with this way. And that's the whole idea. We pick 3 tones of gray and we stipple them across the surface of this cross. Obviously, we're trying to leave some of the previous tone behind, and it can seem like it looks a little bit stark, but by the end of it, you do get this kind of black to light gray transition. That's really, really nice, and it works a treat. And it gives me exactly what I wanted. Slate gray is, of course, the final color going in for it. And stippling that. So not only did I stipple the slate gray because it's obviously the highlight color, it's obviously the highest, brightest. I also went in with a slight dry brush catching the edges. Like I said, we don't want to stipple, or we don't want to dry brush across the entire piece because that will capture those print lines, which we're trying to avoid. But at the very end, you can run it along the edges just to emphasize the kind of edges of this piece, making it look a little bit sharper and a little bit more awesome. So this thing is apparently called a monument cross, and it's quite a big important piece in the lore and background of Trench Crusade, or at least that's what I thought. I can't really find any lore or anything about it. I think they're just like relay towers and stuff. So they're basically just radio towers built into the likeness of a cross. Kind of 2 birds with 1 stone, showing obviously a religious faith, driving back and, you know, making the demons quite angry, with your kind of religious symbol. And then obviously just bolting a lot of radio towers to it, guess, for getting all your communications to and from the front lines is pretty cool. So I think that's all it means. If you guys have any other information on what a monument cross is, please do let me know in the comments below, because I'm not terribly sure. After I got all the grey basically done in, I decided to go in with some texture paste, some nice dark rich brown texture paste. Get that in, go in with my other brush to kind of stipple that design, make sure there's no weird brush strokes in it or anything like that. And then obviously wait for it to dry so I can dry brush it up. While it's dry brushing, I'm going to take a quick moment to talk about something else. Just doing a quick break in the video now to thank you guys all for your continued support here on the channel. Obviously, you guys are watching the videos, very much appreciated. Make sure you're giving the videos a like. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. And do make sure you're subscribed. Those things cost you nothing. They make a huge difference as to how many people see these videos and how quickly the channel grows, which are very important for keeping this channel on the air. And for all those people who go the extra mile and support me over on Patreon, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. Without you guys, I could not be doing this. We have a long, long road to go, and hopefully we will get there sometime soon. But I am excited for the continued growth of Mediocre Hobbies. Remember, if you are a member of the Patreon, you do get a whole host of extra benefits. You get access to a private Discord server, which gives you access to extra videos every single week. We do extra podcast episodes just for Patreon members. We do community showcases and painting competitions, and we do monthly giveaways. This month, we are giving away this, a Thousand Sons Army box set. So if you're interested in getting involved in Thousand Sons or want to expand an already existing Thousand Sons Army, one lucky patron will win this month. So if that sounds like something that interests you, do check out the Patreon linked below. Let's dive back in and get this scenery finished off. Okay, with the ground textured paste all dry, it's time to go in with the anthrax metal, and we're going to base coat in all of the metallic parts of this. Obviously all of those kind of pipe works and all those antennas and other bits and pieces that I talked about before. You're going to get knocked in with this nice dark rich silver color, but we don't want to leave it like this. I can imagine that this eternal war that's been going on for hundreds of years, you can see that this piece of scenery is not new. It's pockmarked with artillery shells that have exploded off of it. Crazy weather storms I'm sure have been battering this thing. I mean, this thing is placed on a hill overlooking a trench system. The amount of, you know, munitions and stuff that go off near it, it's going to make it old. So we went in with this really nice shade, nice dark rich shade. I really like this color. You think I could say the name of the color? Absolutely not. Okay, I went and got the pot because I need to try and read this. It's a really good name. It's Andalusian Earth. That's what this shade, Greens of World, Andalusian Earth. I like the name Andalusian. I don't know what it means though. But anyway, as you can see, it applied as a single coat over the metal gives me the exact effect that I wanted. That real old, aged, worn down metal, slightly rusty, slightly corroded. Still working somehow through the power of faith, maybe. Maybe they've got great engineers, I don't know. And we got some anthracite black pigment powder from Green Stuff World as well. We're using this. And we're going to feed this into all of those kind of cracks and broken sections of the concrete. Because I reckon all of these broken bits exist because of literally artillery hits, you know, cannon fire, explosions. So the concrete and rockcrete that is here is going to be burnt and scorched and marked. So adding a little bit of pigment powder to all those sections will really help break up all that like flat gray. Give a really nice worn, torn look to the piece, and it takes absolutely no time at all. And like I said, Trench Crusade is not my primary game system. It will never be my primary game system. So when you look at a game system that's going to be kind of your secondary game, or, you know, one of your secondary games, see the amount of time that you can dedicate to that game is obviously not going to be as much as your primary game. And we're already fighting for time to get our hobby done. So finding quick and effective ways of getting a table's worth of Trench Crusade scenery done in like a day, for instance, you could use all these techniques and get that done. And it would look pretty cool, pretty convincing, and you would be playing games straight away. And I think I could carve out a day to get myself a full board of Trench Crusade scenery without too much stress. And that would be a really cool way to spend some time. So yeah. I briefly thought about trying to find some transfers and maybe get some like religious text and put it on the side, or even just a little like electrical symbol from like an old Mechanicum transfer sheet and put on that electrical box down the bottom. but I couldn't see anywhere in the lore or anything like that that there would be religious, you know, text, or there would be even any like graffiti on these things. They seem to be quite barren and dark, so I decided to just leave them alone. So once all of that textured pigment had gone on, obviously I sprayed the whole thing with varnish to make the pigment stick. And then I got a green stuff orange and a bone color, and I dry brushed up the base. You know, a nice kind of heavy-ish coat with the orange, and then a nice light coat with the bone. That gives me that rich soil texture that I like doing for all of my bases. And then I just applied a couple of texture, or a couple of grass tufts to the base to kind of sell it as a little bit of life maybe returning to the soil around the cross. Is that power of God pushing back the kind of the hellscape and allowing a few seedlings to take a root, which I think is a really nice way of looking at it. If the rest of your board is all kind of really grim and dark and brown, and you just suddenly have some grass tufts and maybe a flower or two around the crosses, that might be really cool. So this is the finished monument cross for my budding Trench Crusade board. Please do let me know what you think of the final result. What other scenery you would like to see me do for Trench Crusade, if any. Hopefully you enjoyed this stuff. As you can see, all the stuff I used to create this, it was from Green Stuff World. Leave them linked down below as well. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.